Have you ever had trouble getting fixed blade broadheads to fly with your field points? Have you ever found yourself saying, I shoot great with field points, but as soon as I stick fixed blades on, they fly all over the place? Or I guess fixed blades just don't fly out of my bow, I'm gonna have to use mechanicals. If you found yourself saying any of these things, I have a solution for you, and it's called spine matching. If you're not spine matching, your accuracy is suffering, period. So in this video, I'm going to address questions I get pretty much every day. I get emails and messages every day of people talking about issues with their setup or issues with their aeroflight or whatever, and most of the time these questions come down to spine matching. So we'll start by what is spine matching. Well, spine matching is the process of building an arrow which is mathematically perfect for your bow. So I think that there's a lot of confusion about what spine actually is. People tend to think that spine is just the number that is printed on your arrows, and that's as far as it goes. That is what we call the static spine. That is a number that you can't change. That arrow has been manufactured in such a way that it has a certain stiffness, and that's what spine is. Spine is a measure of stiffness. Now, the way I like to think about arrow spine is like an energy rating. So your bow outputs an exact amount of energy every time, and your arrow is designed to absorb or handle a certain amount of energy. And it doesn't work on a range. There is no gradient. When we build an arrow, your arrow and the spine selection that you make when you look at the spine chart, that's an attempt to match the amount of energy that arrow is designed to take with the amount of energy that your bow is outputting. But that's only a starting point. So when I hear all these issues and I tell people, well, you have an arrow spine issue, one of the very first things that is often said to me is, no, I checked the spine chart, my spine is perfect. That's only 20% of the work. It's great that you've done that, but all that's done is got you in the right range. And here's where spine matching comes into play. So that static spine number on the arrow shafts when you buy them is changed immediately the second you do anything to that arrow. When you cut length off of that arrow, that stiffens it, right? Think about if you have a stick this long, it's easy to bend, and if you cut it in half, now it's harder to bend. You're stiffening it. That's exactly what happens with arrows, and it happens on a very small scale. If you cut a 1/4 inch off your arrow, you've stiffened the spine. If you add weight to the front end of your arrow, you're weakening the spine. And this is all dynamic spine. This is the changing spine number that we're working with when we're building an arrow. So what does this all come down to? We're trying to build an arrow which is mathematically perfect for your bow. That's what spine matching is. So if you haven't spine matched and all you've done is you check your spine chart, you need, you shoot this draw length or arrow length and this draw weight, now you shoot a 300 spine, you might be close, but you are almost certainly, unless you're very lucky, not on that exact match between the energy that your bow is producing and the energy that your arrow is designed to take or absorb. So that's what spine matching is. How does spine matching impact your accuracy? Spine matching is accuracy. So we know that field points fly good out of anything, really. I mean, unless your spine is seriously off, field points are gonna fly good no matter what, and that's because there's nothing on the front trying to steer the arrow. As soon as you put a fixed blade broadhead on the end of your arrow, that tends to bring out issues in your bow. So that brings me to a question that I'm asked very frequently, and that is, well, my field points shoot perfectly fine. I have great arrow flight. I shoot to 80 yards, whatever. As soon as I put your broadheads on my arrow, they fly all over the place. That's 100% an arrow spine thing. And one thing I'll say about that and that particular comment is that if you have any quality broadhead, and that's meaning not some crap made overseas in China, any quality broadhead will fly out of any bow if it's set up correctly and if your arrows are built and tuned correctly. There is a saying that I love, and it is that we don't tune a bow, we set up a bow, we tune our arrows. And people tend to forget that, and it drives me crazy because 90% of the work that goes into a bow build is actually the arrows. So when you say, your broadheads suck, they don't fly out of my setup, well, read the reviews online. If there are thousands of people raving about a certain product saying that it works, but it's just not working for you, the writing might be on the wall. So then this all comes down to the question, how do I spine match? Spine matching is done using an online software. There's a bunch of them out there. I use Archer's Advantage. I'm not sponsored by them. They don't have a clue that I promote them, but I absolutely love the product. It's like $9 or $10 for a yearly subscription, and it can do everything. I use probably only about 25% of what the program actually can do. It's so powerful. So basically what you do is you get onto Archer's Advantage and you're going to put in every spec of your bow, your make of your bow, the model, the year, and it has every bow in there, and it's using that information to figure out what kind of cam system your bow has, what that energy output is like out of that particular bow, because certain cam systems will require stiffer spines than others, and so on and so on. That's getting pretty technical, but that's what Archer's Advantage does for you. You then input your current arrow setup, so your carbon-to-carbon arrow length, every detail right down to how many vanes you have, the brand of your vanes, the model of your vanes. It has everything, and every grain adds up. It gets so mathematical for you. It's not hard work at all on your part, but Archer's Advantage does so much of this hard work for you. The last thing you do is you put in your current arrow speed, and it uses that number to calibrate basically the whole setup and tell you exactly how your arrow is performing out of your bow. And it'll show you on a graph exactly how good or bad your arrow is in terms of its spine match with your bow. From here, the world is your oyster. You can build any arrow you want. So you can go through and pick any arrow manufacturer, any model, any spine, and plug it into the system. You can play around with your draw length, your draw weight, your arrow lengths, your front end weight, your back end weight. You can completely play around with it and do so much trial and error. And every time you make an adjustment, it will show you on a graph whether you're getting closer or further away from a perfect spine match for your bow. It's not a hard process to do. It's a little time consuming. It's really fun. I love doing it. And it's super satisfying when you know that you're building arrows that are mathematically perfect for your bow. So then the next question I get is, okay, well, my spine is wrong, now what? Do I have to buy new arrows? I have sympathy for this because arrows are super expensive, and they're only getting more expensive. So I hate to tell people that they need to buy brand new arrows. And sometimes your spine might be far enough off that that's the only option. You need to buy and build new arrows. Sometimes if you're close, and you'll know if your spine is close by plugging all your information into the software, you can get away with adjusting your draw weight. If your bow is outputting way too much energy for your arrow, meaning you're under spine, you can actually just drop your draw weight and that'll solve the problem. There was a year where I had a dozen arrows in the corner of my shop that had never been built and I wanted to utilize them. They were just sitting there, but they were a 400 spine. Normally I shoot a 300 spine. So I ran everything through Archer's Advantage, and I found that I could make a perfect arrow and utilize these arrows. I had to drop my draw weight to like under 60 pounds, which was weird for me because I usually shoot 70 pounds, but it was fine because I knew that I was gonna have an absolutely perfect setup. And I did it, and it worked great, and I shot a few animals that year with that setup. So point being here, you might not need to buy new arrows. Your problem might be fixed by going from 100 grain broadhead to 175 grain. That seriously changes the dynamic spine of your arrow, and that might solve the problem. Now, if you want a complete tutorial on how to do this through Archer's Advantage and my exact step-by-step process, I have a video right here which breaks down every detail. It's super thorough and it will absolutely help you and walk you through every step of this process if you're interested in doing it, and I highly recommend that you do it. And then another thing I'll get from people sometimes is, well, I've never done this before and I've been bow hunting for this long and it's always been fine. Why do I need to do this? Well, that means you've never had as good of arrow flight as you can have. If you're not spine matching, your accuracy is suffering. It's as simple as that. The way I want you to think about this is take one of the great MLB hitters of all time, Pete Rose. Put him at the plate with a children's baseball bat. It could be a top of the line, greatest children's bat on the planet, but it still is a children's bat. It's not gonna fit Pete Rose. You can't expect him to hit a home run with a children's bat, with a bat that doesn't fit him. It's exactly like that with spine matching. You could have $300 arrows. You could have custom built, blah, 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 whatever, top of the line, everything. If your arrows are not spine matched, it's like Pete Rose going to the plate with a children's bat. So I'll finish this off by saying I've never heard of someone have a single issue with fixed blade broadheads after spine matching. I do it for dozens of setups every year in my shop, and it works perfect every time. Basically, my process goes like this. If you bring your bow to me at my shop here in Calgary and say, Lee, I want perfect broadhead flight out of my arrows perfectly with my field points out to 100 yards. I'll say, okay, no problem, give me a week. What I'm going to do is I'm going to measure everything on your bow, your draw weight, your draw length, every spec we have. I'm going to get your current arrow speed, all of that. Then I'm going to set up your bow. So I'm going to time it. I'm going to make sure that your arrow rest is centered and leveled. I'm going to make sure you don't have any serious cam lean. I'm going to just go through all the steps that set up your bow properly. And this is what people would normally call tuning a bow. There's no such thing as tuning a bow. This is setting up a bow. From there, we're going to spine match. We're going to do everything I talked about in this video and in that other one where I completely break down how to do this process. And we are going to see if we can make your arrow work with your bow by adjusting your draw weight. Maybe a half-inch adjustment on draw length can sometimes make a difference, that kind of thing. Or if you're way off, we're going to get you set up with new arrows. After that, paper tune. If your arrow rest is leveled and centered and you're spine matched, you're going to be very close to a perfect bullet hole on your first shot. Probably 60% of the time I get that perfect bullet hole on my first shot, and I'll just take 2 more to verify. At this point, you can go out and shoot field points with your fixed blades at any range and they will be identical. And if they're not, take a step back. There is a problem, because this system absolutely works. This is your golden ticket to accuracy in archery. So if you want to know more about spine matching, be sure to check out my other videos. I have so much about this stuff on my channel here, so much about the importance of this. I can't recommend it enough, and I hope you guys start doing it.